Hello guys, I'm here with Anthony Jacquin. He's just the best hypnotist I've ever seen. That's right. Anthony, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Well, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think when we talk about like hypnotherapy, I think the hypnosis part of it is like it's not so hard to do because what really matter are the tools we use to
Yeah.
make the change in people's lives. But when we talk about street hypnosis, on the other hand, the hypnosis part of it is much harder to do because it's everything. It's like it's all impromptu.
Yeah.
So I think the people, there is no scientific explanation about how hypnosis work, but there are many theories
Yep.
which try to explain it. But
Yeah.
I think the people who must get how it works are those who have like the most experience in street hypnosis.
Okay.
I don't know if you agree with me, but since you have hypnotized half of the world's population, I'd like to know what's your view about all those theories, and also if you have any specific theory you believe in.
Okay. I could probably do an hour on this question. No problem. Yeah, just to focus first of all on the nature of hypnosis itself. There are scientific theories in the sense that there are academics doing good research that's peer reviewed. There's just a lack of consensus amongst those experts. Okay, it doesn't mean it's unscientific, it just means that they haven't fully agreed on the nature of hypnosis. In fact, there's more agreement on what you can do with suggestion than there is with regard to hypnosis. And I'm quite happy to admit that my personal view about the nature of hypnosis has changed a lot. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I've moved steadily from believing hypnosis is a special and unique state with special properties where we become more suggestible, more receptive to suggestion, to a kind of any altered state will do, but the same kind of idea that when you're in a state of confusion or deep relaxation or high level of emotion, you're more suggestible in a sense, to what is sometimes described now as a non-state view of hypnosis, which will confuse a few people if they haven't looked at this. Sometimes it's also called the cognitive behavioural view or the social psychological view. There are a number of non-state positions. And my personal opinion is that all human beings have the capacity to respond to suggestion. We'll come on to exactly what that means in a moment, the word suggestion itself. But rather than thinking that hypnosis should be defined by me putting someone into a special state where they become super receptive, I really believe that the subject, all of us, are always on. We vary in our level of responsiveness, and the hypnotist is kind of appealing and making the most of our innate level and capacity to respond to suggestion. Now, the reason that when we're doing street hypnosis and we want to kind of display the full range of phenomena, so there are many hypnotic phenomena, some which most people can respond to. Over 90% of people can respond quite readily to physical suggestions.
Like arm lifts.
Yeah, like arm levitation and magnetic hands. These are suggested effects where the subject will experience their response to a greater or lesser degree happening automatically. But when we push further into things like amnesia and hallucinations and post-hypnotic suggestions, it seems that less people have the capacity to respond. I think the figures are actually about 23% of people seem to be able to do amnesia without any extra training. You've just met a hypnotist, you've never heard of hypnosis before, 5 minutes later you can forget your name and see things that aren't there and all this kind of stuff. So people who can respond to those more cognitive kind of suggestions don't find it hard to respond. It's not that they're going through extra loops in their mind. They find it
not
as
a state of mind or something.
no. They find it quite easy. So it's not that those things are harder to respond to. It's just that it's less common for people to respond to them. So what I think we're doing as hypnotists is trying to appeal to that. As far as I'm concerned, the state is just another suggested effect. Because I have a non-state view of hypnosis, some people think that might mean I never do an induction or I never use a word like hypnosis or trance or deeper. That's not true. I'm quite happy to suggest those things. They meet expectations. They provide the aesthetics of
like
hypnosis.
The induction is a good suggestion.
It's a great suggestion.
Yeah,
it's a great suggestion.
That's
you know, on stage, if it's a traditional kind of stage act,
it's very performatical. The suggestions on stage.
I know you do stage hypnosis, and the audience they almost find it easier to understand if they see people go into a state and then respond. Personally, I think it's just as impressive and in some ways more mind-blowing when there's no sign of that state, because now it just looks like you're talking to someone and you've got
all the phenomena.
Yeah, you've still got all the phenomena. I think we can make that entertaining too, but because culture has agreed that it should look a certain way. It looked a certain way in the 18th century. It looked a different way in the 19th century. It looked pretty similar in the 20th century. Now we're in the 21st. Things are changing again in many ways. There are some performers out there that are showing the effect of suggestion in new ways, in different ways. But ultimately we're in the same game, and the game is a game of suggestion. Now, that word is also important because hypnotists sort of use it in a special way. The rest of the population use the word suggest, and say, I'll give you a suggestion, I've got a suggestion for you. But what hypnotists mean is that your response to this suggestion will be experienced in a particular way. What that means is your subjective experience will to a greater or lesser degree be non-volitional or automatic. It will feel like, if we just take the notion of your arm lifting, if I just give you an instruction to lift your arm, or I suggest you lift your arm, and you do that, your subjective experience is, I did that. If we have a frame of hypnosis or suggestion, and I suggest it will lift,
by itself.
Yeah, the same part of the brain is used, the same muscles are at use, but now your experience is it's lifting. In the same way many people describe their problems in therapy as happening rather than something they're doing. I'm blushing, I get jealous, I feel angry, I can't stop.